Welcome to Successfully Selling HUD Homes Training Guide. Our goal for this training program is to help you understand the HUD buying and selling process so that you may be successful at selling HUD homes. To get started, it's important to understand who's involved in this process. All HUD properties are serviced by 4 different sources within their fields, which include the Mortgage Compliance Manager, the Field Services Manager, the Asset Manager, and the Buyer Select Closing Agent. HUD has assigned one nationwide contractor as the Mortgage Compliance Manager, Mickelson, Connor, and Boole, which are based out of Oklahoma. The Mortgage Compliance Manager performs a variety of pre- and post services, which are designed to ensure that HUD's interests are protected. Specifically, the MCM manages conveyance issues, serves as a guide for mortgagees regarding claims and conveyance, and ensures marketable title. HUD has also assigned multiple contacts to the Field Service Manager in every region. Properties are assigned to the FSM randomly. The primary responsibility of the FSM is to provide property maintenance and preservation services consisting of inspecting and securing the property, performing cosmetic enhancements or repairs, and providing ongoing maintenance. The asset managers, also known as AMs, consist of PEMCO, Home Telos, and Matt Martin Real Estate Management. HUD assigns properties for marketing and management to all 3 of these companies. The AM manages the sales process and market profits to ensure properties are accurately and competitively valued. The AM makes sure sales achieve the highest net return for HUD. Their goal is to minimize the holding time, handle closings and accounting funds, while maintaining customer service and satisfaction. HUD has assigned multiple asset managers in every region, and properties are assigned randomly to contractors. In some states, there are several management companies, or just one. For our purposes, we're going to use the example of Matt Martin Real Estate Management as the management company. Let's take a look at this property flow chart. There are quad-controlled measures which are in place throughout each step of the property flow process. When a mortgagee initiates an FHA claim, an initial conveyance is placed on the property. Next, the Mortgage Compliance Manager receives the property and ensures it's in marketable condition and is ready to be marketed, or rejects the property and sends it back to the mortgagee. If the property is deemed marketable by the MCM, it is then sent to the Field Service Manager to ensure it is safe, secure, and marketable. If the property does not pass the inspection, then the FSM will reject the property and send it back to the MCM. Finally, if the property has passed FSM inspection, it is then assigned to the appropriate asset manager who markets the property and ensuring it's a marketable condition. If the property does not pass quality control standards at this point, an AM will reject the property and notify the FSM. Let's talk about what a HUD home actually is. First and foremost, it is not low-end housing. By definition, it is a 1 in 4 unit, single-family residence, which HUD has acquired as a result of a foreclosure of an FHA-insured mortgage. HUD homes vary in price, location, and condition, and are for sale throughout the country, with some HUD homes being move-in ready and others that are not. HUD homes are offered for sale at market value, which is based on recent HUD FHA appraisals and is sold in as-is only condition. So let's talk a little bit more about what exactly is as-is. As-is means that there are no warranties, guarantees, or representations about the property and whether it has been identified as FHA insurable or otherwise. HUD will make no repairs to the property with the exception of making it safe, secure, and marketable. Advise your buyers to get an independent home inspection completed before purchasing a HUD property. Be sure you let all potential buyers know that they will not acquire any bills or liens while purchasing a HUD home. So who can purchase a HUD home? The answer is anyone. Buyers fall into one of three categories, including owner-occupants, investors, government agencies, and HUD-approved nonprofit organizations. Let's take a closer look at the first two categories. Owner-occupants are given priority during certain cycles of the HUD sales process and must occupy the house for a minimum of 1 year. They cannot participate in HUD sales for 2 years after the purchasing of a HUD home. Investors cannot bid on a property until day 16 in the HUD sales process, with the exception of FHA uninsured properties where they are allowed to bid on day 6. There are no restrictions on the quantity of HUD homes they want to purchase. Did you know about HUD special programs? Properties which are eligible for HUD special programs will list to a lottery round before they are listed for sale to the general public. There are two types of lottery round eligible bidders: the Good Neighbor Next Door and the HUD-approved nonprofit government agency. For information on becoming a HUD-approved nonprofit, please visit HUD at www.hud.gov. The Good Neighbor Next Door eligibility will be indicated on the listing. Let's briefly go over the Good Neighbor Next Door program. The Good Neighbor Next Door program is designed to enhance urban communities by offering a discount on HUD homes to firefighters, EMTs, police officers, and teachers. Eligible participants of the Good Neighbor Next Door program will receive 50% off the property's list price. For a property to be considered for the Good Neighbor Next Door program, it must be located within an area that has been defined as a revitalization area. Buyers must live in the home for a minimum of 36 months. The buyer or their spouses may not have owned another property within the last 12 months, and the bidder or their spouse could not have ever participated in the Good Neighbor Next Door program anytime previously. To find out more information about all of HUD's current programs, please visit HUD at www.hud.gov. Get connected and stay connected. There are numerous resources available for real estate agents now. They include the National Resources for HUD Information at www.hud.gov. Current information for all HUD listings throughout the United States can be found on the HUD Home Store website at www.hudhomestore.com. And there's also a free app for your smartphone that you can download for use when you're out and about. All three asset management companies, PEMCO, Home Telos, and Matt Martin Real Estate Services, also have websites that have listings on HUD homes, calendar of events, updates, registration forms, and more. Listing agents are also encouraged to use social media networks to advertise HUD listings on sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Active Rain, LinkedIn, and YouTube, to name a few. Listing brokers are encouraged to host HUD consumer outreach events. Check the local agents in your area for events that are currently going on. HUD has high expectations for agents. HUD requires agents to promote quality in all work and all aspects of working with HUD in this process, to use professionalism when working with the public, other selling agents, and everyone in every aspect involved in the HUD selling process, to communicate with not only buyers and those involved in the transaction, but also with asset management teams to express concerns, suggestions, or ideas that become evident to you as you become involved in the HUD selling process. HUD encourages motivation in the agents to make the sale and move HUD properties, and teamwork in the real estate community, and the AMs to work towards the betterment of HUD sales process and to ensure that the HUD process is always operating as successfully as possible. Now that you know what a HUD home is, how to find information, and your expectations as an agent, let's take a closer look at selling HUD homes successfully in your area. The first step in selling a HUD home is to first register with HUD. Any licensed real estate agent can sell a HUD home. Your brokerage and not the individual selling agent will actually register with HUD, to which the brokerage will receive a NAID number that all licensed agents under that brokerage will use. If you are not a broker with your company, check with your broker to find out if they've registered with HUD and have received their NAID number. To become registered with HUD, your principal broker will need to complete the broker registration package. Accuracy in completing the required information is extremely important. The entire process takes 6 to 8 weeks and must be renewed once a year. All of the asset managers have created selling accounts that you must register for in order to bid on a HUD home. You must first enter an active NAID number in order to set up your account. Then you will log into this account later when you begin the bidding process. The sites to register with each asset company are listed on the HUD Home Store link, where you will see how to register as a bidder on the top right corner of your screen. To see a list of all available HUD homes, go to the HUD Home Store's website. You will find a search field on the first page where you can input the property address, city, county, or the HUD case number if it is known, and view property contacts. When a HUD home is available for sale, you will see a local listing broker sign in the yard, and it will also be listed on your local MLS. The best place to confirm the availability of a HUD home is on the HUD Home Store website. Don't forget, they do have that free smartphone app. So who is the local listing broker? HUD's asset managers contract with local listing brokers to provide full listing services on HUD homes. The local listing broker is responsible for listing the properties on the MLS, placing a sign in the yard, providing routine inspections and reports, providing customer service and informational resources on HUD listings and the HUD sales process, in addition to providing wide market exposure of the HUD sales process and various properties. HUD properties are listed on a daily basis. All properties within an area and uninsured properties will list initially in the lottery round. The lottery round is a period of 6 days, and successful bids are awarded on the morning of the 7th day. Successful lottery bids are selected by HUD's random process system. Remaining qualifying lottery round bids will be placed in a backup status in random order by HUD's bid system. New listings that are identified as insurable or insurable with escrow will be offered exclusively to owner-occupied bidders during the first 15-day bidding period. Sealed bids will accumulate over the first 10 days of the bidding period and will be reviewed and revealed to the asset management company on the morning of the 11th day. If more than one acceptable bid exists, the offer will be awarded to the bidder with the highest net to HUD. No preference is given to the time a bid is received during the 10-day sealed bid period. Daily bids will be accepted on all insurable and insurable with escrow properties for the remaining 5 days of the 20-day exclusive owner-occupant bidding period. On day 16, the property will be transitioned to the extended listing period and bidding will be open to all bidders, including investors. HUD recently announced changes to the bid opening procedures for bids submitted on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and federal holidays, along with reducing the number of days the exclusive period is for insured and insured with escrow properties. Bids that come in on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday will be grouped together for the asset manager's consideration on Monday. The 10-day bid accumulation period at the beginning of the exclusive period for FHA-insured homes will be extended up to 3 days depending on whether the 10th day falls on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or if Monday is a federal holiday. Bids coming in on a federal holiday will be grouped with the previous bid's day. For example, bids that come in on Martin Luther King Day, a Monday, will be grouped with the preceding bids for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if the listing period doesn't change. Bids that come in on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving will be grouped with Thanksgiving's bids, so the asset manager will be looking at 2 days' bids on the Friday after Thanksgiving. For uninsurable properties, there is a 5-day extended listing period for a sealed bid process that has been offered exclusively to owner-occupants after the expiration of the lottery round. If a property bid is not accepted by the 7th day, the bidding process is open to all bidders on day 6 of the extended listing period. If all submitted bids fail to meet the minimal acceptable net to HUD, the asset manager may present a counteroffer to allow the bidder to meet the minimum acceptable net. The receipt of the counteroffer notice by the asset manager does not hold the property exclusively for the bidder, nor does it exclude other bidders from submitting bids. When a counteroffer notice has been submitted and another bidder submits a higher net bid, the bid is awarded to the higher bidder. An acceptable offer is awarded to the bidder who submits a bid which meets HUD's minimum standards. If there are more than one acceptable bid, the offer is awarded to the buyer whose bid results in the highest net to HUD. If 2 submitted bids in the same bidding period match the same exact net to HUD, and they meet HUD's minimum, then the bid is awarded by HUD's P260 database system in the process of drawing lots. The asset manager does not disclose what makes an acceptable offer on any property. Some online listings are accompanied by codes. These represent financing options and the conditions of the property for sale. Some examples of codes are IN, IE, UI, HOA, F, and LBP. We will review these codes in detail later on in this training. Property condition codes. F represents flood zone, which indicates that the property is located in an area where coverage under the National Flood Insurance Program may be required to obtain a loan. HOA stands for Homeowners Association and indicates the property is covered by a homeowners association, which will more than likely require HOA fees and dues to be paid by the homeowner. LBP stands for lead-based paint, in which the property was built prior to 1978 and may contain lead-based paint. An LBP addendum form must accompany the sales contract. The following are financing codes. IN stands for insurable and that the property meets the FHA 203B financing requirements and that there are no obvious repairs necessary to insure an FHA loan to buyer. IE stands for insurable with escrow and means that the property is eligible for an FHA 203B loan and necessary repairs total less than $5,000. UI indicates that the property is uninsurable, meaning that the property requires more extensive repairs after the closing of escrow and therefore is not eligible for FHA mortgage insurance in the property's as-is condition. Let's quickly go over the IE, insurable with escrow properties. In an IE property, the repair escrow only applies to FHA 203B financing. The repair escrow is not considered a gift from HUD, but rather is added to the mortgage and the sales price will remain the same. On the listing, you will see an itemized list of required repairs. The 110% total of that will be added to the buyer's mortgage. The lender is responsible for all the repairs using a licensed contractor. Absolutely no repairs will be made prior to closing. Let's talk about how multiple offers will be considered. If the owner-occupant is the sole acceptable bidder on a single property, the bid will be selected. A nonprofit organization that bids from HUD's NP list will be considered before owner-occupant bids in the first look or lottery round period. If owner-occupant is one of several acceptable bidders on a single property, the offer that nets the highest to HUD will be selected. If a purchaser submits several bids on the same property, only the bid producing the highest net will be considered. If an owner-occupant submits a bid on more than one property, the bid that produces the greatest net return will be accepted, and all other bids from that purchaser will be eliminated from consideration. However, if the owner-occupant submits the only acceptable bid on another property, that bid will be accepted, and all other bids from that purchaser on any other property will be eliminated from consideration. HUD's P260 system facilitates the selection of the correct bid. Now that you know how to become a HUD selling agent, where to search for HUD homes, let's talk a bit about showing and advertising HUD properties. All registered selling agents can show and advertise any available HUD property. All agents must adhere to advertising and showing guidelines. Non-compliance could result in your brokerage's NAID number being suspended. If you see any ad non-compliance, please report to the appropriate AM or directly to HUD at hudhomestore.com. HUD expects you to advertise HUD homes in a professional and ethical manner. This means that you will not destroy, damage, or remove the advertising, including signage from another HUD registered selling or listing agent, for any HUD property, and you will not imply or state to buyers that the price of the property differs from the list price shown on the property listing site. The HUD sales process is considered an open selling process. When advertising HUD properties, be positive, proactive, and be creative. Refer to HUD homes as HUD owned, HUD acquired, or simply for sale. Do not refer or advertise properties as distressed, foreclosed, government, must sell, repossessed, or any other adjective with notable negative connotations. Do not place signage on the HUD property's front yard if you are not the designated local listing broker. Agents can use directionals, but limit them to the appropriate number. Excessive use of directionals will be addressed on a case-by-case basis at the discretion of the AM company. Be sure in your advertising to always include the Equal Housing Opportunity logo and include a HUD home disclosure and link to the listing site hudhomestore.com for more information on HUD properties. Be sure to note any floodplain zones or other warning information as it appears on the property's internet listing where applicable. Always adhere to federal, state, county, city, and your local real estate commission's advertising regulations, as well as compliance with the Truth in Lending Act when advertising HUD properties. This includes, but is not limited to, blind advertising, regulations regarding directionals, and others. As an agent, when showing a home to a prospective buyer, make sure you sign in on the sign-in sheet. This is mandatory. You are not allowed to hold an open house unless you are the listing broker. Be sure to always secure the property when leaving and return the key to the lockbox. HUD's mission is to increase home ownership, support community development, and increase access to affordable housing free from discrimination. Areas of illegal discrimination include discrimination due to race, color, religion, national origin, sex, handicap, either mental or physical, and family status. The sales contract package must be completed prior to bidding on a HUD property. The buyer's signature is your permission to place a bid on their behalf. If the offer is accepted, you only have 2 business days to submit the entire contract package to the appropriate AM company. This package must include the earnest money, pre-qualification letter, etc. See the appropriate asset manager's website for earnest money submission instructions. Bids can be submitted 24/7, but they're not reviewed on holidays or weekends. There is a daily bid deadline of 11:59 p.m. There is no time preference in bidding. If the asset manager receives two acceptable bids, which are the exact same amount, they will select the winner by randomized electronic drawings. If you place a bid you wish to withdraw, you must cancel this bid prior to the day's bid deadline. Owner-occupants can purchase one HUD property in any 2-year period. Investors can buy several properties at once. Let's go over some key points about submitting a bid and bidding over the as-is value. The as-is value is the appraised value. Effective February 6, 2014, the buyer's lender may order a second appraisal when using an FHA loan. The asset management company will notify you if you overbid and require submission of proof of funds for the difference in the bid amount and the HUD FHA appraised value. Make sure you include a completed notice to purchaser addendum with a contract package. Make sure your buyer understands that they need to bring cash to closing. For overbids, a buyer cannot finance unless a second appraisal determines the value is greater than the HUD FHA appraisal. A subject to value will not support the overbid amount. All HUD bids are submitted electronically online. The information entered into the bid submission page will become the first page of the sales contract if accepted. Line 3 is where you would put the offer price. Line 4 is the type of financing. Line 5 is closing costs. Line 6 is the agent commission. Line 7 is the net to HUD, and line 8 is where you identify the buyer type. Line 5 of the bid pertains to the closing costs. HUD will allow up to 3% of the purchase price of the property to go towards closing costs. Enter this number, not the percentage, on line 5. Commissions are covered in line 6A for the selling agent and on line 6B for the listing broker. HUD will allow up to 3% of the purchase price for the selling agent's commission. Line 6B will populate 3% for the listing broker. Before you submit your final bid, please make sure you check it, double check it, and triple check it. When you have submitted the bid, a confirmation number will be provided. Be sure to write that on the right-hand corner of the sales contract. A populated contract package will be available for you to print from the final offer submission page and from your HUD Home Store account. To avoid slowing down the sales process and possibly delaying closing, avoid these common errors. Make sure to double check that you have entered in the Social Security numbers and that the buyer's name matches exactly on lines 1, 2, and 13. After the contract bid submission prints out, make sure all signatures are in blue ink and there are initials on line 12 acknowledging the earnest money policy. Let's go over how to check bid results. On the bid deadline day, all offers are reviewed and then accepted, rejected, or countered. Bids are typically posted by noon, the day after the close of bidding, starting a 2-day deadline. The asset manager will notify you via email if your bid is accepted, and the information will be posted on HUD Home Store along with any backup offers that may be acceptable. To review the bid results, log into the HUD Home Store website, click on the Bidder function, and then on to Review Bids. When you click on the confirmation number, you can review property information and print out any necessary addendums. If your client has a winning bid, your next step will depend on your area, but in most cases, it would be to overnight the contract package and earnest money to the asset management company, or to hand deliver the package to the listing broker. Either way, you will be sent instructions from the asset management company. Be sure to follow the asset management company's directions to the T to avoid any delays. If accepted, the seller will sign off on the contract and forward it via email to you and to the closing office with additional instructions, if any. Make note that the day you receive the ratified contract is the contract's official acceptance date. The HUD sales contract is used when submitting offers on HUD-owned properties. Use the HUD 9548 sales contract condition of sale. This is a unique contract for HUD homes and is different from the standard GAR contract. For addendums pertaining to the contract, please use HUD 9548 contract addendum. If you are going to be submitting for an owner-occupant, be sure to also include the owner-occupant certification form. Other items that you need to include are the For Your Protection Get a Home Inspection, the Radon Gas and Mold Notice, the buyer's lender letter of commitment or pre-qualification letter, forfeiture and extension policy, a lead-based paint addendum if applicable, flood zone addendum if applicable, notice to purchaser addendum if applicable, the earnest money check with the earnest money certification form, and the buyer select closing agent addendum. Be sure that all signatures are done in blue ink. HUD homes are exempt from the FHA a mandatory clause and will not be executed on the sale of HUD homes. The FHA mandatory clause is intended to ensure that prospective home buyers with FHA-backed loans receive important information in a timely manner about the house to be purchased. In particular, the mandatory clause stipulates that if buyers have not received information about the appraised value of the home they intend to buy, the buyers are not obligated to purchase the home. Earnest money must be deposited by using certified funds or a money order only. $500 is required for HUD-owned properties priced below $49,999 and $1,000 for HUD-owned properties priced $50,000 and above. Please see the appropriate asset management company's website or wait for their instructions after receiving a winning bid for the earnest money delivery. You may be asked to send it to the asset management company, the listing broker, or to the title office depending on your location. Specifics on earnest money refunds are outlined in the forfeiture and extension policy. In the event that your AM returns the contract to you for corrections, you have 2 business days to return the corrected contract back to them. You may be required to submit an entirely new contract package. If the contract is returned and still contains errors, the contract will be canceled or awarded to the next highest bidder. Remember that you cannot use whiteout or liquid paper on any contractual document. Corrections required by the asset manager may mean writing a new sales contract, a new pre-qualification letter, and obtaining your buyer's signatures again. Make every effort to submit your contract package correctly the first time to avoid any delays. If you need to submit contract revisions, please make sure to contact the asset manager immediately, as they must approve and implement any revisions. Please note that any changes to the financial method will require a new original contract. Home inspections are optional, but are highly recommended. Home inspections must take place within the 15-day due diligence period, as that is when your buyer is allowed to get a home inspection. You must have the field service manager authorize your home inspection. Your buyer cannot begin this process until the contract has been signed. Borrowers have 48 hours to complete the home inspections after the last utility is turned on. Buyers must turn off utilities after the inspection is complete. AMS and Sigma have been outsourced by HUD to authorize your home inspections. Check their websites or call the numbers listed here to schedule your utility turn-on. Should you have any problems getting that information, you can always contact the listing broker. Sometimes vandalism can occur after a property has gone under contract. If this happens, download the appropriate form from HUD, complete it, and mail it to the appropriate asset management company. The asset manager will provide you with the options for moving forward towards closing, which may include postponing closing and addressing extension fees. Sometimes it is necessary to extend the closing date. If this happens, you must make the buyer aware that there are extension fees that may apply. Extensions are purchased and granted in 15-day increments, with the exception of properties being funded by 203K financing, in which case it's 30 days. If the contract closes prior to the use of all 15 days, the remaining per-day fee will be prorated back to the buyer and refunded by escrow. Extension fees must be submitted in the form of certified funds. Fee and request form must be submitted to the closing attorney 5 days prior to the expiration. Under certain circumstances, fees may be waived. If you are made aware that the purchaser is not going to close and wants to cancel the contract, please contact the asset manager as soon as possible. Never allow a contract just to cancel on its own. Instead, submit earnest money timely, as stated on the cancellation letter. Use the contract release and earnest money disposition request forms from the appropriate asset manager's website to justify the cancellation. These forms need to be accompanied by the necessary documentation to request a refund. It is important to submit these forms prior to the expiration date of the sales contract. Here are typical closing timelines for each of the following closings. For a normal HUD closing, HUD closes in approximately 45 days from the contract acceptance. For cash closings, HUD closes in 30 to 45 days from contract acceptance. For conventional financing, HUD closes in approximately 45 days from contract acceptance. And for 203K closings, HUD closes in approximately 60 days from contract acceptance. Please remember that buyers cannot move in or start repairs prior to closing. This is very important and must be adhered to. Selling agents must accompany buyers, inspectors, and the like to HUD properties at all times prior to closing. If your buyer requests a final walkthrough, it is recommended that you complete that either the day before or the day of closing. All closing documents must be submitted to the closing agent from the lender 5 days prior to closing. The closing agent will then submit the closing documents to the asset manager, and the asset manager signs the documents and the property is released to the buyer. At closing, both you and your buyer will be provided with a short survey about the HUD home selling process. From property conditions to the asset manager's helpfulness to the closing attorney's assistance, the survey inquires about your experiences as a whole in the HUD home sale. Please take the time to complete the survey. The asset management team strives to ensure the high levels of satisfaction both agents and the buyer have during the HUD transaction, and the survey provides extremely useful insight and data into helping them determine how pleased everyone is with the process. After closing, the buyer can have the utilities activated for permanent use and occupy the property. After closing, be sure to take your buyer to the new property and open the house for them with the key that's currently in the lockbox. Replace the key in the lockbox. Do not give them that key. The buyer needs to take a lock set with them and change out the lock on the door. At the buyer's own expense, they will need to have the home's locks changed and/or rekeyed. Thank you for attending this training session.